Did you know that historically up to 40% of the United States was covered in prairie? Did you know that over 100 plant species can occur in a prairie of less than 5 acres? And did you know that up to 60 million bison or buffalo once grazed on the plains of the prairies? As we continue with our pollinator project, I want you to notice the different changing blooms that are available to feed these pollinators at this time of year, including columbine, this beautiful red columbine, and the yellow of the golden Alexander, both native plants and found in sunny areas. The sunny parts of habitats, or the shady parts also have a different set of flowers, like these beautiful Virginia bluebells that grow in the shadiest of spaces. Hello, urban gardeners. Coming to you this week, we're going to talk about two very important things for our springtime garden. One is hardening off seedlings. Our seedlings have been growing inside in a very controlled environment for the last few weeks, and they're getting ready to move outside into the variables of the weather. Cool nights, warm nights, bright sun, heavy rain. And so to do that, we need to toughen them up, or as we say in gardening, harden them off. That's our first topic. Once our plants have been hardened off, and this can take 5 days, a week, 10 days. Once they've been hardened off, we're going to transplant them to our garden. And so we'll show the proper techniques for transplanting a seedling from a pot to garden soil. Well, hardening off is the process where we get plants that have grown inside in a constant temperature in the 60s or even 70s and get them used to the variable weather and the changes in temperature, sunlight, and rain that comes with living outside. To harden off a plant properly, you need to ease them outdoors. I always think about at the end of fall, as it gets cold, I'm not very used to that cold weather. But by the end of winter, I'm very used to it. This process can take 7 to 10 days, and you want to start by bringing your plants outside for 1 hour the first day, and then bringing it back in. Bringing it out for 2 or 3 hours the second day, and bringing it back in. Over the course of the week, leave your plants outside a little bit more, and at first, keep them in the shade. By keeping them in the shade, you'll keep them away from this direct, harsh sunlight. And also, you can keep them inside if it's going to be very windy or very heavy rains. Because these plants have been used to a constant temperature as well as moderate watering from a watering can rather than a thunderstorm. And here's a quick tip for transplanting tomatoes. Sometimes my tomato plants get very tall and leggy, and that can be problematic with other plants. But with tomatoes, you can just bury that extra stem. Every bit of stem that goes under the ground will grow roots. Look closely at that tomato plant stem. There's little hairs all over it. And if they're under the soil, they grow roots. So you can give your tomato plants extra deep roots and save a plant that got perhaps a little bit too leggy before being transplanted. You're going to join me to transplant this seedling. It's a zinnia type of flower, and to do so, we're going to need to do a couple of things. One, we're going to need to remove our plant from the pot it's been growing in. I usually do that by turning it upside down and letting it fall out into my hand. Now this bottom portion is the root ball. And you can see these white stringy things. Those are actually some roots sticking out. And those roots are what's holding the soil together. So that root ball is full of roots. We can see the stem right here, and we can see on top 2 big leaves and also 2 smaller leaves. To successfully transplant this, we're going to need to have a hole that's twice as wide as our root ball and about as deep. So I'll set this down and begin to make the hole. I want to loosen up some soil and keep it close by because we're going to need that soil to finish transplanting. Now if I set this plant into this hole, I know my hole is about the right depth because the top of the root ball is even with the top of the soil. You don't want to put them in too deep to where they get buried under the soil completely, and you don't want them too shallow to where the top of the root ball pokes out. As I fill that soil in around it again, nice loose soil, I've hidden my root ball, but my stem and my leaf are still completely out of the ground. I'm going to press down firmly but gently to help hold everything in place, and I have just successfully transplanted the zinnia. Although true success will be measured by its growth and survival. So as you transplant your own flower, you'll be contributing to pollinator habitat in your neighborhood, helping animals that are pollinators like these monarch butterflies, and helping to contribute to our own schoolyard habitat where we grow many native wildflowers and grasses. Okay, quick quiz at the end of this video today. What is the name of these early spring wildflowers? Look early in the video to find your answer.